Okay, so let's unpack this. It is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. And, if you are waking up in the South Bay this morning, maybe you're grabbing a coffee on the pier or sitting in traffic on the 405.
Right, doing the usual.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It probably feels like just another standard Tuesday. You've got the marine layer burning off. You've got the routine.
It definitely looks calm on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the stack of documents we have on the desk right now.
And it is a very thick stack.
It is. Specifically, if you look at the administrative and economic calendar for this exact date, today is actually a frantic day.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those days where the tectonic plates of the region shift just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you might not feel the earthquake until a year from now.
Right. And that is exactly why we're here. We are doing something a little different on this deep dive today.
Yeah, a bit of a departure.
Because normally we track one story over 6 months. But today we are freezing time. We are taking a snapshot of exactly one day today, February 24th, to see what it tells us about the future of the South Bay.
And I have to warn you, the source material is dense. We have economic outlooks. We have regional governance announcements, city council agendas. And the crazy thing is, they all seem to converge right here, right now.
It's this wild convergence of the massive and the minute. Because on one hand, we're talking about global trade corridors that affect the entire American Southwest.
Massive scale.
Right. And then on the other hand, we're talking about whether you can ride your bike in North Redondo or buy a vape pen.
And our mission today is to figure out how those things are connected. Because they are. How does a single region balance, say, mega event infrastructure prep with the gritty day-to-day reality of neighborhood zoning?
So settle in. We're going to peel back 3 distinct layers of the South Bay economy today. We've got the macro layer, the business layer, and the micro layer.
Sounds like a plan.
But where do we even start with a day this busy?
Well, I think we have to start with the macro view, the 30,000-foot view.
Okay.
Because if you zoom all the way out, you realize the South Bay isn't just a collection of beach towns.
No, not at all.
It is an economic engine. And today, literally today, that engine is getting a serious modification.
You're talking about the I-40 TradePort Corridor.
Correct. The launch event is happening today, February 24th. And look, I know...
It sounds dry.
It really does. TradePort Corridor sounds like the kind of thing you read in a logistics trade journal and immediately fall asleep.
Yeah, I hear that, and I just think of traffic. I think of, massive lines of trucks.
It might eventually mean some of that, but what it really means at its core is flow. To understand why this matters to you, you have to think about the Port of Los Angeles, not just as a harbor where boats park, but as a funnel.
Okay, walk me through the funnel analogy.
So for decades now, we have been pouring massive amounts of global goods into the top of that funnel, the port.
Mm-hmm.
But the neck of the funnel, the roads, the rails, the warehouses, immediately around the port in Wilmington and San Pedro is incredibly tight. It gets clogged.
Oh, we all saw what happened a few years ago.
Exactly.
Ships just sitting offshore for weeks, waiting to unload. You couldn't buy a couch for 6 months.
It was a total system failure, a logistics heart attack. So this launch today, the I-40 TradePort Corridor, is essentially an attempt to perform bypass surgery.
Bypass surgery, I like that.
It's not just about paving a new road. It's about creating a dedicated, streamlined supply chain vein that connects the Port of LA directly with what they're calling inland logistics hubs in the Southwest.
So instead of all these goods sitting in a massive stack in the South Bay, clogging up our local streets, they get shot straight out to where? Arizona, New Mexico.
Precisely. The idea is to move the storage part of the equation out of the really expensive congested coast and into the desert where there's actual space.
That makes so much sense.
It effectively makes the port bigger without having to actually dredge more ocean.
It's a lifeline for the region.
It really is. And the fact that the launch event is happening today signals that the region is doubling down on being the logistics capital of the country. But it's not just about moving physical boxes anymore.
Right. Because we have another update from yesterday, February 23rd, that suggests the South Bay is also trying to change its brain, not just its muscles.
Yes. This is the corporate strategy piece. We saw a major announcement from CBRE.
And for those who might not follow commercial real estate closely, CBRE is the giant. They are the ones who essentially decide what massive buildings get built and who fills them.
Huge player.
Mm-hmm.
Global player. And they just appointed a new executive managing director for their South Bay office, a guy named Patrick McGrath.
Now, be honest, usually a corporate hiring announcement is where I completely tune out.
I don't blame you.
Like, executive gets a new title, who cares? But when we were prepping for this deep dive, you circled this in red ink. Why?
I flagged it because it is mandate.
Yeah.
In corporate real estate, you follow the head count to find the money.
Okay.
The announcement didn't just say he's there to sign standard warehouse leases. It specifically says he will lead market strategy and growth across innovation hubs.
Innovation hubs. See, that feels like a buzzword bingo winner to me.
It totally does. It sounds like corporate speak. But in urban planning and real estate terms, it means something very specific.
Which is?
It means we aren't building call centers. We aren't building more standard concrete block warehouses. Innovation hub usually signals life sciences, R&D, tech, aerospace, green energy.
Oh, wow. So not just storing shipping containers.
Exactly. These are spaces where ideas are generated, not just where boxes are parked. And that implies higher salaries, different zoning requirements, and a completely different kind of workforce.
So if we synthesize this macro layer, on one hand, today, the region is launching a massive logistics corridor to move the heavy physical goods out to the desert.
Right.
But on the other hand, we have this new leadership specifically tasked with bringing the high-value intellectual property work in.
It's a dual-engine approach. Physical infrastructure and intellectual infrastructure happening simultaneously. The South Bay is really trying to transition from a purely blue-collar logistics economy to a much more complex hybrid economy.
It feels like the region is putting on its armor, you know? It's getting ready for battle, or at least for serious business on a global scale.
And that kind of macro energy, it trickles down. You can't have these massive 30,000-foot shifts without the local business community feeling the vibrations on the ground.
Which brings us perfectly to our second segment, the Chamber Blitz.
Blitz is definitely the right word for it.
Seriously, I was looking at the calendar for yesterday and today, and the local chambers of commerce are, well, they are caffeinated.
Highly caffeinated.
They are moving fast.
It's a real flurry of activity. And what's fascinating here is the variety of what they're doing. It paints a really vivid picture of a day in the life of the South Bay business community.
Let's run through the list really quick. Rewind slightly to yesterday, February 3rd. The Torrance Area Chamber held their 25th annual Black History Celebration.
Which is significant. 25 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It's a quarter century of institutional memory. It reminds us that economic development isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about cultural recognition. It's about community anchoring. You really can't have a thriving economy if the community itself doesn't feel seen and valued.
Absolutely. And then we move to today, Feb 24th. The San Pedro Chamber is holding something called Chamber 101, New Member Orientation.
Now that is a classic sign of economic health.
Because new people are showing up.
Exactly. New member orientation implies new businesses are actually entering the market. If the local economy were stagnant or shrinking, you wouldn't need an orientation because nobody new would be opening shop.
Good point. Okay, then we also have Redondo Beach holding an Economic Development Council meeting today, and the Wilmington Chamber holding a public policy meeting also today.
So that's your governance and advocacy layer. You have Torrance doing culture, San Pedro doing recruitment, and Redondo and Wilmington getting right into the weeds of local policy and development.
But then there's the Manhattan Beach Chamber, and this is the one on the calendar that made me literally stop and stare at the page.
I knew you were going to land on this one.
How could I not? Their session for today, Feb 24th, is titled Get Mega Event Ready.
Get mega event ready.
What does that even mean? It sounds like they are prepping for an alien invasion or the Super Bowl.
Well, context is everything here. Remember, we are in 2026. We are staring down the barrel of the 2028 Olympics in LA.
Oh, right.
We have World Cup matches coming, huge global summits. But look closely at how the session itself is billed. It's billed as an infrastructure session.
An infrastructure session for a mega event.
Think about what that implies for a second. A local chamber of commerce doesn't hold a hardcore infrastructure session for, like, a weekend arts and crafts festival.
No, they don't.
Mega event terminology usually points towards something massive. We're talking about an influx of global visitors, international media attention, and a huge, heavy strain on local transit and utilities.
So they aren't just telling these local restaurants to print more menus.
Not at all. They're telling them, check your supply chain. Can your delivery trucks even get to your restaurant if the streets are closed down for international security? Do you have enough broadband width if 50,000 people descend on the pier and try to live stream at the exact same time?
Right, the cell towers just melt.
Exactly. Can your staff actually physically get to work if the metro lines are overloaded?
It's a stress test.
That's exactly what it is. It's a stress test for the local economy. And the fact that this session is happening on the exact same day the TradePort launches,
It's not a coincidence.
it reinforces this idea that the South Bay is in a state of high alert preparation.
It's not just business as usual. It's almost like business plus.
It's business anticipating impact. It's a very productive kind of anxiety.
Okay, so we have the global trade routes opening up out to the desert. We have the local businesses prepping for a tidal wave of Olympic-level activity. But what about the actual neighborhoods? What about the people who just live here?
Well, that brings us down to the micro layer. City Hall, specifically Redondo Beach.
Right, because all this grand economic theory eventually has to hit the pavement, literally.
We're looking at the Redondo Beach City Council meeting agenda for tonight, February 24th. And if the TradePort is the view from 30,000 feet, this is the view from 3 feet.
It's where the rubber meets the road.
Literally, there are two items on this agenda that create just the most fascinating contrast when you put them side by side.
Let's start with the first one. Item 1 is the North Redondo Beach Bikeway extension.
A very classic municipal project.
Right, they are finalizing the agenda for this extension. Now, for a listener who doesn't live in Redondo, a bike path sounds nice, maybe a bit trivial compared to a massive trade corridor. Why does this matter in the context of mega events?
Because, in the context of everything else we've discussed today, a bikeway extension is really about mobility density.
Mobility density.
Right. If you are preparing for that mega event influx, or even just the everyday growth from those new CBRE innovation hubs, you simply cannot put more cars on the road. The roads are full.
Physics is physics. Two objects can't occupy the same space. There is no more room for cars.
Exactly. The only way to add capacity to a built-out region is to get people out of cars. So a bike path isn't just for weekend recreation anymore.
It's actual infrastructure.
It's transportation infrastructure. It's micro-mobility. It connects the neighborhood to the larger transit lines, to the local businesses.
It's the capillary.
Yes, perfect analogy. The TradePort is the massive artery pumping goods out of the region. The bikeway is the capillary. It connects the neighborhood block by block. It's what makes the city actually pleasant to live in, despite all the macro chaos happening above it.
Okay, so that's the opening up part of the agenda. Improving flow. Let's build things. Let's connect things.
Right.
But then, and this is why I love local government, we scroll down to the second item on the agenda, and the tone changes completely.
The moratorium?
Yes. The council is continuing discussion on a 45-day urgency moratorium on new smoke shops.
Now, this is a very specific, very heavy tool in the municipal toolkit.
I mean, urgency moratorium just sounds dramatic.
It implies a rapid reaction. You don't pass an urgency moratorium if things are proceeding at a normal, manageable pace. In city government, as you know, things usually move at a glacial pace.
Oh, yeah. Years of studies.
Right. To pass an urgency ordinance usually requires a higher vote threshold from the council, and it takes effect immediately. No waiting period.
So why smoke shops? Did Redondo Beach suddenly decide they just morally hate vaping?
Well, as impartial observers of this source material, we have to look at the mechanics of it. It's rarely about a moral judgment from the city, and almost always about land use.
Land use.
What likely happened here is a loophole in the municipal code, or just a sudden market shift, allowed these specific types of businesses to proliferate faster than the zoning code could handle them.
Like weeds in a garden.
From a city planner's perspective,
Well, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
If you have 10 smoke shops open on one commercial block in a 6-month period, that distorts the retail mix.
Right.
It pushes out other types of businesses. It changes the pedestrian feel of the neighborhood.
So the moratorium is essentially the city calling a timeout.
Precisely. It's the city slamming on the brakes, saying, stop, nobody move. We need 45 days to rewrite the rules and figure out where we actually want these things to go.
But look at the juxtaposition here. It's amazing. On the exact same agenda, on the exact same Tuesday, you have the city saying, let's build a path so people can ride bikes freely and connect. And in the next breath saying, stop everything, no more smoke shops for 45 days.
It really highlights the impossible balancing act of local governance. You are constantly trying to facilitate the good stuff, the bike paths, the community perks, the flow, while frantically trying to regulate and restrict the things that sprout up too quickly.
It's like playing whack-a-mole while trying to paint a masterpiece at the same time.
That is a surprisingly accurate description of city council work. But if we connect this micro level back to the bigger picture, it shows that rapid growth brings friction.
How so? Connect those dots for me.
Well, think about it. Why are smoke shops suddenly proliferating? likely because there's new demand, or rapid real estate turnover, or shifting economic demographics.
Yeah.
Why is the bikeway urgently needed? Because population and transit density are increasing. All of these things, the TradePort, the innovation hubs, the smoke shops, the bikeways, they are all symptoms of a region that is highly active. A dormant, dying region doesn't need an urgency moratorium on new businesses.
Right. They'd be begging for any business.
Exactly. And a dormant region certainly doesn't launch an I-40 TradePort Corridor.
So what does this all mean if we step back and look at this complete snapshot of February 24th, 2026? What is the actual story of the South Bay right now?
I think the story is transition, or maybe pregame.
Pregame.
Think about the layers we just uncovered today. Layer 1, the macro. We have the I-40 TradePort and the CBRE innovation push. That's the region officially saying we are a global player. We are moving high-level goods and ideas. Layer 2, the mid-level, the chambers of commerce. They're telling their local businesses, get ready. Something big is coming. Get your infrastructure in order right now.
And then layer 3, the micro, the city council. They are down on the ground, directing traffic, paving bike paths, and hitting the pause button on smoke shops just to keep the neighborhood recognizable.
It feels like the South Bay isn't just existing today, it is actively preparing.
That's the key word right there, preparation. You don't launch a massive interstate trade corridor just for today. You launch it for the next 10 years.
Right.
You don't hold a get mega event ready session for yesterday's problems. You hold it for what's coming next month or next year.
It is fortifying the foundation, whether that's by appointing someone like Patrick McGrath to steer corporate strategy or by figuring out exactly where a bike path goes in North Redondo. It's all part of the same ecosystem of preparation.
Wow.
It's the region collectively realizing that what worked for the last 20 years, just being a nice collection of beach towns with a busy port nearby, isn't going to work for the next 20.
That is a heavy realization for a Tuesday morning.
It is.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's better to realize it now on February 24th than to wake up 2 years from now when the Olympics are actually here and realize you can't move traffic, your port is gridlocked, and your downtown is nothing but vape shops.
Fair point. The urgency makes a lot more sense now. It is wild to think that a single day, just one date on the calendar, can hold all of that. From the massive cranes at the Port of LA to a heated debate about a smoke shop license in a local council chamber.
And that's exactly why we do these deep dives, because if you just read one of these headlines in isolation,
Yeah,
you miss the pattern, you miss the story.
you definitely do.
But when you stack them all up, you see the actual pulse of the region.
And the pulse is racing.
Definitely elevated.
So, here's the question I really want to leave you, the listener, with today. And I want you to challenge me on this if you think I'm reaching here.
Go for it.
We often think of local news as boring, right? City council minutes, chamber of commerce mixers. But if you connect the dots the way we just did today, are we seeing the end of the suburban South Bay?
No, that is a provocative question.
Because when I hear terms like innovation hubs, TradePort corridors, and mega event infrastructure, those don't sound like suburbia to me.
No, they don't.
They sound like a metropolis.
I think you're right. I really think we're watching the graduation of the region. It's moving from a collection of sleepy, somewhat independent beach cities to a unified economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
And all these growing pains like fighting over bike lanes and throwing down moratoriums on smoke shops.
Yeah.
Those are just the symptoms of that graduation.
We are basically watching the teenager finally move out of the house.
And realizing they have to pay their own rent.
Right.
And manage their own utilities.
Yeah.
And deal with the neighbors.
Exactly. Well, there you have it. A complete snapshot of the South Bay on February 24th, 2026. It is messy, it is ambitious, and it is moving very, very fast.
Keep your eyes on the agendas. Yeah. That's where the real story is always hiding.
Always. Thanks for diving in with us. We'll catch you on the next one.